Now we move on to the training. Basic form. This is the thing that everybody needs to be getting right. It is day one shit that you need to be getting correct. If you start right, you will finish right. If you start wrong, you're going to develop bad habits, you're going to develop imbalances, and you are going to plateau out really damn fast. For people new to an exercise regime, to weightlifting, or to some form of sport, understand that in the first couple of weeks, maybe the first couple of months, your body will progress even with bad form, simply because the movements are still new. Even if you're doing limited range of motion, that limited range of motion is still going to be new to the body until it gets used to it. So it will progress slightly in the first few weeks or months, but then the moment that it's used to that regimen and there's no actual work being done, it is going to plateau out really fast. And no matter what you do, unless you correct the form, unless you correct the technique, unless you correct the programming of bad training, your progression is going to halt and stop. It's not matter how much different food you take in, it's not going to progress because you're not stimulating the muscle growth that you are so avidly chasing after. To stimulate the correct muscle growth and correct strength gains for those doing more of the powerlifting or 5x5 style, everything has to be in from the ground up. And that means looking at your technique from day one. When you go in, you should be positively criticizing yourself, not looking in the mirror and thinking, how good do I look, but looking at how good does my movement look? How good is my technique? What could be improved? There are plenty of warning signs for things like this to let you know you're doing things incorrectly that people seem to ignore. 1. Is it hurting where it should hurt? If it's not, if it's hurting in other areas, a simple one is chest. But a lot of people say they feel shoulders on their chest, and that is because their shoulder placement is incorrect on the chest movements that they're doing. That means they're allowing the shoulders to come in and lift a partial amount of the weight that the chest should be lifting. Why is this happening? Your body, again, is a smarter machine than you are. It will try and lift in the most efficient method possible. Your body's efficiency is not to lift with one select muscle group. It's going to try and incorporate as many as possible. You have to get out of your head that you're just shifting a weight from A to B. You're not just trying to shift the weight. You have to lift the weight from A to B. By pushing the weight through the range of motion and maintaining a good technique, by maintaining the correct body posture, you're going to be lifting the weight with the muscle that you are trying to work. If you just try and move the weight from A to B, you're going to encourage your body to bring in other muscle groups, you're going to lose form, and you're just going to be shifting from A to B, and that's not going to generate results. So in line with this, you need to be in control of your mind to muscle connection. This is a really important factor. Make sure that it's hurting where it should hurt. If it's not, address the situation. Look at why you think it's hurting where it shouldn't be hurting and correct it. Don't ignore things. Don't try and let your ego override your technique. Technique will forever provide progression. Your ego will simply keep you looking in the mirror and ignoring what's wrong. For those who are following the 5x5, technique is hugely important in avoiding injuries and getting real progression on lifts. When we're looking at things like deadlifts, you'll often see people rounding the back and not driving properly. If your back is rounding on a lift, that lift is too heavy or it's being done incorrectly. If you try and do it correctly, recorrect your posture, recorrect the technique in which you lift, and it doesn't move, that weight is simply too heavy, drop the weight down and get the technique back and build up. Real progression provides real results. Lying to yourself and cheating the progression is only cheating yourself, because the mirrors don't lie and the weights don't lie and the injuries certainly won't lie. So for those of you that had the mad scientist within you, understand this: you are not a genius. You see those guys with an average physique doing some crazy weird movement. Guys, there is no super twisty drop set super magic movement that's going to pile on pounds within weeks of lean muscle. It doesn't exist. There is no magic machine, no magic movement. There are core foundational technical movements that need to be done to provide progression. There needs to be a range of movement, there has to be a connection to the muscle, and it has to be time under tension. If they do not exist, neither does the progression. So stop swinging, stop bouncing, stop adding in triple, quadruple drop sets of biceps into back into burpees. It's not necessary. You have not learned something magical that decades of other people have seemingly ignored. There is a reason that most of the guys you see doing crazy movements look like shit. It's because they're trying to cheat their way past doing things consistently with hard work over time. How do you change your training when you're cutting to when you're gaining? Simple. You don't. The training can stay exactly the same year round no matter what you are doing. The only thing that you might find changes between a cut and a gain is the volume. You are much more likely to be able to add extra volume within the gaining time because you have more calories and more energy, and you are able to add that volume in and not have a central nervous system repercussion from it because you're able to recover. You might see people cutting down the weights during a dieting phase, but if they're doing it correctly, the only reason they're dropping weights is because they're feeling it more in their joints from when they lift heavy. It'll only be on heavy movements, and it's simply because there's less fat around the joints, so there's less cushion for the pushing, which means the weights have to be dropped just to protect the joints. If weights are being dropped because you cannot lift that weight anymore, that is a big red flashing light to let you know there is something wrong with how your cut is going. It means that you are probably losing muscle mass, because let's think about it. Again, it all comes down to common sense. If you are maintaining the muscle that was originally there, that could originally shift that weight, and you now can't move that weight, that suggests that you are losing muscle or not feeding your body enough to be able to exert the energy required to move that weight again. Big red light. Free weights or machines, does it matter? Free weights are always going to be better than machines, but they both have their place. Free weights are better simply for the fact that they work more muscles. They make you control the range of movement, unlike a machine which controls that for you, and in doing so, it takes away the work by the stabilizer muscles. So maintaining a lot of free weight work is going to work more of the minor muscles, the stabilizer muscles, and build a stronger foundation. It's going to give you bigger rewards over time. That doesn't mean that machines don't have their place. There should be a happy balance between the two. Machines do allow for good isolation and often joint protection on certain movements for people that suffer on maybe bench press or too much squatting. Like myself, I have small joints. If I do too much squatting back to back, my knees begin to get sore, and it is then antagonistic towards my progression, because what will happen is my knees will get so sore that I won't be able to do any leg work. So by switching in and out from free weight squats to a machine based squat, I'm able to relieve the stress on the knees, and I'm able to continue to squat without aggravating the joints and allowing my training to keep progressing rather than having to take time off due to joint aggravation. So yes, they all have their place, but you should always opt for a free weight movement over a machine movement where preferable. Cardio. When should it be done and how? Cardio. Cardio is a tool, is a beneficial tool to use whilst cutting and also whilst gaining. Cardio is good in terms of, if you're doing it, it's going to help build your cardiovascular system. It's going to make you fitter. And when you're fitter, you're more efficient. So yes, it's going to be beneficial to keep cardio in most of the year round where possible. Cutting and using cardio. It's not a necessity. It's been proven that you can cut without cardio, but if you're cutting without cardio, your food allowance is going to be a lot less than when you're cutting with cardio. I would also argue that by utilizing cardio when cutting, like I said, it's going to make you fitter, it's going to make you more efficient, which in turn, I believe will give you a better overall looking result at a similar body fat percentage. I just believe personally, keeping the cardio in is a better idea, but it's going to be very, very marginal, a very small difference between the two if the guy who's not used cardio has maintained a maximum food profile whilst dieting and not drastically cut. When gaining, keeping cardio in, other than keeping you fit and keeping you healthy, it's also going to be good to help push you through to new calorie levels. So say that you maxed out on 4,000 calories before and you found yourself, you start to get a little bit fat at that level. If you were to up cardio around that time, you would then allow yourself to take in the calories that the cardio will be burning. So it's going to allow your metabolism to raise to deal with 4,300 calories. And that's how over time you can help raise your metabolic level. It is a really useful way of pushing through plateau points that you can find when gaining. It's going to be a good idea that keeping cardio in to help keep that body efficient, to help keep you healthy, help keep your heart healthy. Better efficiency in lung capacity and things like that is going to help benefit your weight training. It's going to help your cardiovascular system to improve whatever else you endeavor to do throughout your training. It's also going to allow you to adapt more readily. Cardio timing, does it matter? There is an argument that doing cardio post-workout, because your blood fat lipid levels are higher, is going to be a little bit more beneficial than burning fats, but big picture, as long as you get the cardio in, as long as you're burning the calories consistently, get the cardio in when you're going to do it best. But if you can, post-workout, especially with the steady state work, is going to be the best time to do your cardio. But overall, just get it done. The age-old question for the ladies: should girls lift? Hell yes! Girls, I hate to tell you, you all say it, all I want to do is get toned, I don't want to get big. Tone is muscle, and you cannot get big because you do not have the hormonal support to generate large muscle mass. So hit the weights. Doing cardio and only cardio is not going to tone the body. It is not going to work the muscle to the extent that weights would. And by weight training as well, you're still going to burn calories for longer after the gym session than if you just do cardio. The way your body composition changes, as we said before, is dictated by your nutrition. So, in the gym, ladies, do not be afraid of hitting that weight section. Any man that looks derogatorily at a woman walking into a weighted area of a room is not a man worth worrying about anyway. So get in there, do your thing, be proud and progress. The big one, supplements. Here's the question. Do you need supplements? No. You do not need supplements. They are not a necessity. It is very, very important to understand. Supplements such as protein powders, they are no different to food. Creatine is not a hormonal drug. They are nothing magical. There is no magic bottle, there's no magic pill, there's no magic powder. They are simply an addition to an already structured, balanced, and controlled diet. Supplements, they are what the name says, a supplement to go alongside an already well-established, consistent, monitored diet. Do supplements replace food? No, never. If given the choice of being able to eat food or a supplement, they never ever are a replacement. What supplements do? They're by no means bad. Supplements do have their place, but they are simply an aid to you being able to hit your targets. So, utilize them where you find it difficult to maybe get an intake during the day, or you're struggling to eat a certain meal. What supplements do is they allow you to get a larger volume of macronutrients into a smaller intake volume. So such as a protein shake, you're talking 300 mils of liquid, and you're going to be getting in somewhere between 30 and 50 grams of protein in just that liquid alone, which would take the equivalent of 150 grams of chicken breast. So there's a fair difference in both time and volume there for getting that macronutrient level in. Supplements can go alongside real food, but the thing is just to remember, they don't replace it, they're an aid. They're something there just to help you hit your targets. They're not magic, they can do no more than food could do. So that's in regard to like your protein powders, your weight gainers, of which, let's kill this straight away, there is no such thing as a weight gainer. All those are is a protein shake blend that contains protein and carbohydrates and fats, so the calories are higher per shake, and usually the serving sizes are higher as well. They're like 3 or 4 scoops, so obviously the calories are going to be more than just a whey, which is 1.5, 2 scoops of just a whey, which is some protein, often very near zero carb, and often very, very low, less than 3% fat. Fat burners, no such thing. Let me get this to you. Fat burner does not exist. Think about it, guys. Again, we're going back to common sense. If there was such a thing as a pill that incinerated fat, do you think they would be charging about $50 a month for one? Or £30 over here, whatever it is? Would they? Do you think there would be fat people walking this earth if they existed? No, they wouldn't. That's because it's not something that exists. Fat burners, no matter how well advertised they are, that's all they are. Well advertised. They are nothing more than something that increases your potential to burn fat. So they heighten the body for the ability to be able to burn fat, but you still have to do the work. You still have to create the output to burn the fats. You still have to create the stimulus for the body to need to burn the fat, and that is what they do. So a fat burner they should not be allowed to be called that. They're more of a stimulant than anything else. Appetite suppressors, bad idea. Don't take them. Learn to volumize your food instead. Anything that blocks fat, oh my god, stay away from it. That is not something you should be putting in your system. Don't eat the same level of fats. Learn about your food and reduce your fats from your daily intake. Do not rely on a pill to block what you're too lazy to not put in your mouth.